Sponsored by บางจาก Sustainable Business Development in Harmony with the Environment and Society. Thailand's worst floods of the decade is now a history, but still millions of people and also many foreign investors remember how they were hit hard by the disaster. Well, mass flooding in Thailand is reportedly to be directly affecting over 2.5 million people, and so far has resulted in over 350 fatalities, according to the Thai Department of Disaster Prevention and Mitigation. However, the total damages have been estimated by economists to be in the region of, this is the figure, $9.7 billion US dollars, according to the Human Development Forum Foundation Thailand 2011 report, special report. This has completely discredited the image of Thailand from foreign investors in investing in the country, as many of them were badly affected, as we all know. But fortunately, the situation was back to normal, got back on track after a few months with Thailand's efforts in hoping to gain back foreign investors' confidence.
So many things in that question. The American Chamber of Commerce continues to be quite bullish on Thailand and the Thailand economy. As we look back over the course of the last 12 months, including the devastating floods, the recovery of Thailand, the resiliency of Thailand was very good. And in terms of our companies who were impacted from the American Chamber of Commerce point of view by the flood, we saw them returning to near normal business operations within a 2 to 3 month period of time. But aside from the companies that were affected by the flood, when we look at the influx in a number of ways of the Thailand economy, for example, tourism. Tourism returned to the country very quickly. And already this year we can see that it is on tap to reach a record number of tourists to the country.
Political instability is actually one of the main factors affecting the foreign investors' confidence and even driving them away from doing business in Thailand. However, according to AmCham president, he reassured that Thailand is now actually doing better practically to attract investment and promote business expansion, since the country is already on top of the U.S. list foreign business destinations.
So that says a lot about Thailand. Number one, it says that the flood had an impact, but that the recovery was fairly quick. And then secondarily, it also talks about the political stability of the country, which from the viewpoint of the American Chamber of Commerce, we're feeling very confident about the political stability of the country at this point.
So you feel confident in doing business with Thailand still?
Yeah, definitely. There's not, while these things have happened over the course of the last several years in terms of political stability, natural disaster, I think that there is an ongoing commitment and relationship with Thailand that we will work together to weather these things and to continue the relationship going forward. And we also have seen that the economy has improved, and as a result of that, we have seen our companies, now our multinational companies, investing further in Thailand. We've seen plant openings in the auto manufacturing area, and we think that that will continue provided that the political stability continues and that the natural disasters that we've seen in the past are managed in a much more reasonable way.
But well, it has recently rained.
So,
have you talked to anyone about this in preparing
throughout this entire year, following the floods of last year, AmCham has been very proactive in trying to understand better what happened, why it happened, and what work is being done to make sure that it doesn't happen to the extent that it did last year. Although we all know that that was a record in terms of 50-year type of occurrence, so we understand. But we think that the government has done good work in terms of trying to improve the water management. I'll come back to that in just a second. We know that our companies have done work to make sure that their business continuity management programs are working better with a focus on water management. And then thirdly, we also know from a meteorological standpoint that the rain, although the most recent days may tell a different story, but that the rain is actually nowhere near what it was this time last year.
Right.
Now, the government has done a lot of work, and we've been in contact with them to understand what work they've done, and we've reached out to them to understand about that. However, we see that work has been done in the north, and then just last week we also see that Sukhothai, for example, has been inundated again. So that does raise concern. Although we feel very confident that the work in the Bangkok and the surrounding areas has been substantial enough that, along with the fact that the rainfall this year is not what it was last year, the fact also that the damming system have released water this year, we think that we are in a better position that we would have a near normal type of occurrence with water management this year.
However, if the disaster is repeated, Mannix expects Thailand will completely lose all the foreign investors' confidence and the effectiveness for new potential investors, and also the new prospect for reinvestment in the region.
I think that the American Chamber of Commerce will watch this very closely on behalf of our member companies. And what would AmCham do? AmCham would continue to reach out to the Thai government to see what is happening. We also know that our members would continue to do what's necessary to protect their businesses, but we think that the confidence level of Thailand would be adversely affected if the occurrence this year is anywhere near what it was last year. But we still remain confident that it will not be because of the work that's been underway so far.
Do you have a second plan for that, if there's anything happens?
I think it's really up to our member companies in terms of what they would do, and every company. I represent United Airlines. We do have a contingency plan in terms of water inundation. And actually that plan is very simple. We don't fly here. However, that's our business.
So
industries that have manufacturing plants, you just cannot pick them up and move them somewhere else. So they need to have a very strong business continuity management plan to make sure that their facilities, plant, employees, supply chain is still manageable.
According to the World Economic Forum held recently in Bangkok, Thailand's global competitiveness ranking has risen one place to 38th and breaking 6-year streak of declines. However, the WEF noted that despite the improvement in Thailand's overall ranking, there are still many more competitive challenges in the country that's still facing and remain considerable. Well, Thailand needs to improve. Of course, the challenging factors are political and policy instability and excessive red tape, pervasive corruption, security concerns, and uncertainty around property rights protection, seriously undermining the quality of institutional framework on which businesses heavily rely on.
As we at the American Chamber of Commerce reach out to various ministries within the Thai government, we do that with the thought in mind of Thailand becoming more competitive and a better business environment for Thailand, both for Thailand as well as for the businesses in which we represent. So the variety of forums that exist around the world today, whether it be TPP or the ASEAN Economic Community, Thailand very much is participating in these. First of all, in the TPP, Thailand is not a member of the TPP yet. We encourage them to become a member because we think that that will improve world standard processes within Thailand and that will improve the business environment. We think that Thailand should become a leader in terms of the AEC, the ASEAN Economic Community, and that we've encouraged them to do that. We think that in terms of issues that we continue to speak to Thailand about, They relate to, and these are not new news items, these are the issues as it relates to transparency, as it relates to rule of law, application of the law, level playing field, issues as it relates to IPR, intellectual property rights, and one issue in particular is customs, and
Thai
the custom
customs.
the custom laws, and becoming more world standard in terms of how customs are handled for our imports to country that support our businesses within Thailand.